Have you ever just looked around and felt like the world is getting, well, a lot more chaotic, more polarized? It's like this general feeling of uncertainty is just hanging in the air. You're definitely not alone in feeling that way. I mean, if you've been watching the news or even just scrolling through your feed and you get this sense that things are kind of on edge, like some big fundamental shift is happening right under our feet, then you're going to want to hear this. Because what if I told you there's a fascinating and, yeah, maybe a little unsettling theory that tries to explain this exact feeling we're all having? Okay, let's get into it. We're going to be talking about a concept called the fourth turning, which was put out there back in 1997 by authors Neil Ho and William Strauss. And boy, does it present a pretty startling idea about how history really works. So here's the core idea. The theory suggests that history isn't just one random event after another. Nope. It actually moves in predictable cycles that last about 80 to 100 years. The best analogy, really, is to think of history as having 4 distinct seasons, each with its own vibe, its own character. And this is where it gets really interesting. These seasons have a pattern. First, you get the high. That's like a historical springtime. It's a post-crisis era, everyone's optimistic, institutions are strong. Think of the boom after World War II. Then comes the awakening, like a long, hot summer of rebellion against that very order. The 1960s and 70s are the classic example. That's followed by the unraveling, which is autumn. Individualism is king, and all those strong institutions start to weaken and crack. Think the 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s. And that brings us to the final season, the crisis. This is winter. A period of intense turmoil that tears down the old world to clear the ground for something new. And according to this theory, that's exactly where we are right now. Okay, so that's the framework. But it really begs the question, right? If we truly are in one of these fourth turnings, this historical winter, why now? What forces have all come together to create this, well, this perfect storm? According to the source material we're looking at, it's not just one single thing. It's actually the result of 4 huge trends that have been building up steam for decades. Let's break them down one by one. First up, the economic driver. The entire world is basically swimming in a historic amount of debt. This whole situation got supercharged by how we responded to the 2008 financial crisis. And at some point, you have to realize that this reliance on debt and easy money, well, it can't last forever. At the same time, we've got all this internal pressure from political fragmentation. I mean, trust in our major institutions, governments, the media, you name it, it's been eroding for years. That creates a vacuum. And that vacuum is being filled by intense polarization and all sorts of populist movements all over the globe. And then you've got the external pressure, the global setup that's been in place since the Cold War ended, with the United States pretty much in the driver's seat, is now being seriously challenged, mostly by the rise of China. And if you look at history, these kinds of shifts in global power, they're rarely peaceful. And finally, there's the human element, the demographic piece of the puzzle. The generation that actually lived through the last massive crisis, the Great Depression and World War II, they're pretty much gone now. And the theory suggests that with them, we've lost that collective firsthand memory of what true existential hardship feels like, which maybe, just maybe, makes us a little more willing to risk it all. So if you put all those drivers together, what does a crisis period really look like? It sounds terrifying for sure, but it's not just about things falling apart. The theory actually frames it as a painful but necessary process of renewal. And this brings us to the central metaphor of the whole idea. A fourth turning is like a massive forest fire. It is absolutely devastating. It's terrifying to live through, and it burns away the old world. But in doing so, it also clears out all the dead wood and enriches the soil, which allows for strong, new growth to emerge from the ashes. So yeah, the stakes here are incredibly high. The source lays out some pretty severe risks. Governments could try to inflate away their massive debts, which would just crush people's savings. The risk of a major war goes way up, and deep social divisions could boil over into actual civil unrest. But, and this is a big but, there's that silver lining. These immense, society-shaking challenges also have the power to forge a new, powerful sense of unity and shared purpose. Okay, this all sounds pretty huge and abstract, right? But the source material does try to bring it down to earth and ask a really practical question. If this is really happening, what on earth does it mean for how we should think about our money and our investments? And the number one takeaway is that a huge mindset shift is needed. In an era that's this volatile and unpredictable, the main goal probably shouldn't be about aggressively chasing the highest possible returns anymore. Instead, it might be about shifting to a more defensive game, focusing on just preserving the wealth you already have. This chart here lays out a really fascinating playbook based on this theory. So things that used to be safe, like bonds, suddenly become really risky if governments decide to use inflation to solve their debt problems. In the stock market, the focus might shift away from speculative tech stocks and toward tangible, real-world stuff. Think defense, energy, infrastructure. Commodities like gold and silver could become really attractive as a way to protect against currencies losing their value. And in the crypto world, well, the era of easy money might be over, meaning a lot of projects might not make it. The ones that survive will be the ones with real, actual use cases. But after laying all of this out, the seasons, the drivers, the potential outcomes, we have to take a step back.
We have to ask a bit of a contrarian question about the entire foundation of this idea.
Is history really this neat, predictable cycle that we're all just stuck in, repeating over and over like seasons in a year? Or is it something way more messy, far more random and chaotic, ultimately shaped by individual human choices and just plain old luck? That's the big, provocative question a theory like this leaves us with. You can find the original source of the analysis in the description of this video. We hope you found this breakdown valuable. To keep learning with us, please follow, like, and share the podcast What Bitcoin Taught Me, and follow us on Twitter/X, Nostr, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Spotify, and now YouTube.